5:30. We are going to, we're going to open the meeting, but first, pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. And now we're opening the meeting of the Fall River Planning Board, 5:30, April 23rd, 2019. And item number 1, we're going to continue the street acceptance of Brookside Street.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Yes.
You have my memorandum dated April 11th. At the last meeting, I needed some additional time to do some research to find out, because based on the assessor records, there's no right-of-way from Highland Avenue through the St. Vincent's property to where these two houses and the 4 lots are. I've worked with the assessor, I've looked at the deeds, I've looked at the old assessor maps, all the field cards, and unfortunately there's no evidence that a right-of-way exists from Highland Avenue through the St. Vincent's property to the house, that the petitioner 122 Brookside. The physical address, the physical access, as I stated, is a gravel driveway, and there's also, in looking at the St. Vincent's property, it appears there's no recorded easement either. Could be a prescriptive right, but there's no easement over the gravel road. So since there's no established right-of-way, there's nothing that we can legally recommend accepting because it doesn't exist. So therefore, the planning board would need to recommend to City Council not to approve the street acceptance request because there's nothing that can be accepted.
Correct.
I know that one of the property owners is here. I know he was not here at the last meeting. I think your mother was. If you wanted to come down.
My mom was here.
Yeah, if you wanted to come down. I just wanted, did you, and I know we've spoken on the phone, I think.
Yeah, I think I talked to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, did you understand that what I mean by there's no right-of-way?
I do, yeah.
And so unfortunately, my recommendation to the planning board is that they have to recommend denial because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think that we could, that's the formal part, but if you wanted to, you could work with my office, the engineering department, and maybe St. Vincent's
Okay.
to try to establish if they would be willing to establish a right-of-way through their
Okay.
property. They may not.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then I think that you could, I know that there's been some periodic maintenance.
Yes.
And you may want to talk to the DCM to do the periodic maintenance.
Okay. Now, how would I go about that to try to get it as a right of way?
You'd have to reach out to St. Vincent's
Okay.
property.
Yeah.
And talk about if they would be willing to dedicate a right-of-way over
Okay.
the gravel way.
Okay.
And if you wanted to set a meeting up with them, you wanted myself and the city engineer to be there, we're more than willing to help you with that,
Okay.
to go over that process.
All right.
So,
All right. So,
unfortunately,
no, yeah. It's,
there's nothing to accept, so
Okay.
that's my recommendation to the board.
all right.
I went over through the area to check myself, and went 3 times, matter of fact, and exactly what you were saying, that, in other words, if we recommend for the city to accept that street, we're not using, there's no street to accept.
Right.
And, like, we have a paper streets sometime with no acceptance, but we'll accept it. But the city had full responsibility, but as Bill said, there's nothing really much for us to work with.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay?
Therefore, we would Need a recommendation. Board vote to recommend to the city council not to approve the street acceptance request
I'll make that
Because there's
motion.
no right-of-way.
because there is no right-of-way.
I'll make the motion to recommend to the city council to not accept the Brookside Street because there's no right of way.
I'll second that.
Okay, and now, item, all in favor, yes.
Aye.
Aye. Zoning bylaws amendment for the kennels. There's a proposed modification to Chapter 86, Article 2, definition, and Chapter 86-36, table of uses. The amendment proposes to modify the number of dogs for a kennel from 3 to 4, which will be consistent with state law.
Okay. I'm just going to read the ad for both of the public hearing items. Notice is hereby given that the following: the planning board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. First floor hearing room at City, first floor hearing room. And to hear persons wishing to be heard on the following: proposal for Chapter 86 of the Code of Fall River, whereas it relates to zoning, to amend the following. Section 1, by inserting in the table of uses the following districts: wind energy industry research and development, wind energy industry processing, fabrication, manufacturing, assembly, wind energy industry support services, and those would be in the WTOD, and they would all be yes. Second section, by striking out section 86.9, terms and definitions in its entirety, and replacing it, and it's replacing not more than 3 dogs to say not more than 4 dogs, and to replace the section for the kennels in its entirety, and replace the following: kennel containing 4 or more canines 3 months or older. And then the definitions would also pertain to 4 canines 3 months or older. Anyone have any questions concerning any of these matters may contact either the planning department or city council, and it gives the address. The first one on our agenda is the kennels. I think it's pretty straightforward. The building commissioner met with me and asked that I prepare a amendment that would strike 3 and have 4 dogs, because that's compliant with state law.
Right.
And that would be in the definitions section and under the table of uses. So therefore, I would recommend approval, to city council, the bylaw amendment as proposed.
And do I have a recommendation here?
I'll make a motion to accept the amendment kettle purpose modification of chapter 86, article 2, definition and change 86-36 table of use amendment, purpose to modify the number of dogs for a kennel from 4, right? You want to make 4 now?
To 4.
To 4. Be consistent with the law, state law.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second bylaw amendment is, I've been working with the mayor's office and the office, and looking at, we've been getting numerous inquiries into the waterfront regarding wind energy industry, not windmills, to state it for the fact, not placing windmills on the water, but it's the support services for offshore wind. There are any number, there's cable manufacturers, there are manufacturers or places that do assembly of the various components. They also have There's, right now they're looking, there's a company that services the windmills, and they have a lot of parts and things, and they need water, they have to have a boat, you know, they get these things shipped in, whatever's broken, they take out, so that's a support service. So, to better position the city, because we're being told, and a lot of things is that even though a lot of the stuff is gonna go over to Brighton Point, that's not nearly big enough to service the potential of what they're going to be looking at on offshore wind. So in order to position the city for future uses and economic development that would be coming with this wind energy industry in our region, we're recommending, and to better suit to get the city in the position, the WTOD zoning district is the district along the water. And we would recommend adding 3 uses to the use table, 8636. And that would be wind energy industry research and development. So any business that wanted to do research and development related to wind energy. Wind energy industry processing, fabrication, manufacturing, assemblage, or packaging. A lot of that would be, you know, companies that would be having the various parts shipped, they assemble them, pre-assemble them, they put them on barges and they send them out. So that would be what that type of industry would look like. And then the support services, you know, that I mentioned, you know, that do the maintenance and repair of the thing. So it's fairly consistent with our zoning bylaw and the wording, the way we've used them. And so my recommendation is for approval, to recommend approval of this to City Council. And I'm available for any questions.
Okay, I have a question for you, as usual, Mario.
Okay.
By striking the chapter 8636, did this open up the entire waterfront in the city of Fall River? It did. And what I mean by the entire, not just the cove or what area, anyone who could have come in and purchase a waterfront up here. Is that visible? It's good for the city? I'm not being negative about it, but just I
It's
wanna be
only
clear.
within the WTOD zoning district, which is along the waterfront. It would be the area that's in yellow, that's along the waterfront.
Okay.
It's only that existing zoning district.
Okay.
So, because they need water access, and some of the areas obviously, you know, aren't going to be conducive to it. They're going to need larger pieces of property, depending on what they need, and sometimes they would need deep water access. So it's strictly the WTOD is the yellow, and I've highlighted the city pier and the parks. So that's the only areas. So it's just along, it would affect everything along just the water.
Bottom of the,
Huh?
down bottom of Kennedy Park, there's a deep water pier there.
Yeah, and it's,
And there's one down on Bay Street too.
yeah, so. And as you move further down, like the area that's in and around the sewer treatment plant, that's already zones, that's already an industrial zone, which would allow some of these uses, but the WTOD does not.
Okay. The other question I have, this completely restrict the windmill.
Hmm?
In other words, by change this, somebody can come in and says, how you go about restrict the windmill.
You mean putting a windmill up? Well, we have a separate bylaw for wind energy facilities.
Okay.
This is wind energy industry, not we have a separate bylaw for windmills.
Thank you.
So that regulates those.
That was my question to you on the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and so, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one? Motion passes. And item number 3.
This is just a a notification you can just, to place on file, Chapter 91 and the 401, Planning Board and
Conservation.
Conservation Commission get these notices. And this is just a courtesy notice. There's no action necessary. You can just vote to place it on file. They're looking at doing a new transmission line underneath the harbor from one side to the other. It's been a big project that's been going on, and they have to do dredging and filling. So I'm just recommending that you acknowledge it and place it on file.
Okay, and do we have a motion to acknowledge
I'll make a
and
motion
place it on
to
file?
put it on file. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Give me a second,
Did you second?
please.
No.
I'll second. I'll second.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Item number 4, we have the appointment of William Roth as Planning Board's representative to Serpent Commission.
I'll make a motion for that one with a smile. You're not going to get away from us, are you? I'll make a motion to appoint the William Root to the planning board, represented in a commission. Is that correct?
Yep, yeah, as the planning board's representative to Serpent.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
Second?
Congratulations, Bill. We
All
did
in
it.
favor?
Another meeting you have to go to.
Yeah, that's what I said too, yeah. Okay. We have application for endorsement of plans not believed not to require approval, Form A plans, and the first one, item number A, is file number 191431, owners applicants Ground Earth Incorporated, located at 232 Blanford Street, assessors lot F 14-15 and 29.
What they're looking at doing is they are taking numerous existing property lines and consolidating them into 2 lots. And you can see the old lot lines, like F14 lots 15 through 29. You can see all of the old dash lot lines. The new perimeter lot for parcel 2 will be a 55,000, 1.2 acre parcel fronting on Jackson Street. And the parcel number 1 will have frontage on Lapham and on Arlington Street. And so it is not a subdivision, and I recommend that you approve it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Form A plan, file number 19-1431, owner, ground earth location, 232 Lampman Street, assessor lots F-14-15 and 29.
And do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And 5B is file number 19-1432, owner applicant. Squeeze G Real Estate Trust, did I say that right? Location, 83-95 Flint Street, assessors lot K-13-17.
This is, and you've done several of these, this is a division of property. It's under state law, under Chapter 41, Section 81L. It talks, and it's on the plan. This plan clearly states this is 2 structures in existence prior to subdivision control law. They can be subdivided, and it is not considered a subdivision. They can be divided. So therefore, I recommend that this does meet approval for approval not required. They have added a note that we're not making any determination to compliance with zoning, and I would like it stated for the record that any future building permits or construction or anything necessary, the state law clearly states that they still, if they were to move forward with doing anything in the future, they would need to get a variance for the any nonconformity that this creates, but they, under state law, allows them to do this. So I just wanted it stated for the record that to advise, to put it on record that any future work through the building department most likely will require a variance to make them conforming. So I recommend that it does not constitute a subdivision, and you can approve it under approval not required.
Thank you. I have a motion to that effect.
I'll motion to accept file number 19-1432.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed. And item number 6, we have approval of the March 26, 2019 minutes of the meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
And at that meeting, Charlie wasn't here, so.
No, Charlie can't vote on it.
Charlie
Okay.
cannot
I'll second
vote on that,
motion.
so, yes. So, we have a second, all in favor? And
Aye.
I'll vote in favor, and Charles Bonus will abstain. Public input?
No.
No public input.
Public.
No public input, and so, we would call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bill, did we give enough time?
Huh?
3 minutes.
Almost.